It was never about conquering the river, but just being out in nature.
Kari Kastango swam the entire 410-mile Connecticut River and discovered who she really was along the way.
What an experience. Walk us through some of that.
I learned just over the 3 years just to relax with the water. And when I did that, I was actually able to swim further than I expected that day with less effort. The river just met me where I was. It literally washed away all the crud of my land life. My passion for swimming led me to reclaiming myself, step forward and be my true self.
Wow. I can hear that when you talk, Kari, like, being out in nature and this, connection that you have to the river, like no one else does,
I was able to release grief of 40 years. And I was just blown away. Like my mind was just wide open, and I thought, I need to learn this in order to be able to offer this gift to others.
Hello and welcome to Radical TV. I'm Shawna Smith. Joining me here today is Kari Kastango. Kari Kastango helps women who carry silence be seen without performing. Nature taught and Dharma anchored her 5-year swim of the 410-mile Connecticut River became a living practice of advocacy, presence, and clean truth. A P&E trainee with Judith Johnson and mentee of Metamorphosis with co-founders Jeremiah Dupin and Jacob Grekar. Kari blends somatics and ontological coaching with her current framework, a PhD statistician with an MS in exercise science. She meets each person with precision, compassion, and open palms. Oh my goodness, Kari. I love that so much, meeting people with open palms.
Thank you.
That sounds so amazing. Welcome. How are you?
Wonderful. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, same. I mean, I can't go any further without talking to you more about the swim of the Connecticut River.
Sure.
Tell me about that. How did you get into that? How did you get involved with swimming 410 miles?
Yes. So, swimming has always been a passion. It's how I came into my body, learned its strength, was outdoors. Every summer we would go up to Canada and we'd end the summer by swimming across the lake. It was about a half a mile. And I just continued to love swimming, and I did so. And when I moved to where I'm at now in South Hadley, Massachusetts, there wasn't any lakes that was within an hour away, but literally the Connecticut River is 200 yards as the crow flies from my house. And admittedly, I got tired of doing flip turns in the pool. It's great. YMCA is wonderful, and wonderful people, but I just got tired, and I turned my attention to the river.
Wow.
So then over the course of 2 summers, over the course of a summer, there's 2 bridges. It's 11 miles, and over multiple swims, I swam that. And then I thought, okay, I'll do the 15 miles above one of the bridges. And after I did that, I said, I'll just swim the whole river. Now, you have to understand, have you ever made an important decision without knowing all the facts?
Yes, but not to this level, I think.
Yeah, okay. That laughter is a sign of identification. So I thought the river was about 200 miles long. So I thought, I better Google this. Well, lo and behold, it was 410, and twice the distance, twice the fun.
So how did you begin tackling this?
There's the Connecticut River Boating Guide, and it's a wonderful resource, and shows where all the different boat ramps, both for like motorboats as well as car top only, as well as giving information about certain landmarks and the distance, because people actually paddle the entire length of the Connecticut River. And I'm the first person that's known to have swam the entire length, and I use that as my Bible. And I literally would plan. I actually spent like 4 times as long planning swims than I did as swimming, because there was the logistics of who's available. I always had someone either in a Boston whaler that I had purchased, a 1975 Boston whaler, because there's some sections that require a boat. And for instance, there's a segment of at least 15 miles where there was no immediate access. So literally had to motor up and swim down and then go home. And then the following weekend, drive back up, motor up further, that type of thing. And it was a 5-year odyssey. It was never about conquering the river, but just being out in nature.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine, you learn some valuable lessons, time in that water, different temperatures, different things you're seeing, different things you're encountering. What an experience. Walk us through some of that.
Sure. One of my favorite memories was in the 3rd year. And just know I didn't start at the top and go all the way down. I did this on weekends, predominantly initially from Memorial Day to Labor Day. My 3rd year, I took off 4 months of work, for the purpose of swimming. And I was able to swim 160, just shy of 164 miles. I had hoped to swim longer, but it was a very wet summer, so there was combined sewer overflow, given the old infrastructure of how our sewer system has been established in this country. Interestingly enough, it was on the tail end of Hurricane Frederick, and Hurricane Henri was a couple of days away. So people might imagine me swimming on a sunny summer day, but oftentimes it was in cold water. The last year I was swimming up in Vermont in 47-degree water with a dry suit. It would take about 10 minutes for my face to become numb. I would drink hot water and honey, and when I stopped, it took 10 minutes to get reacclimated to the water, just because it was pausing and having my face out of the water. But it was thrilling. And getting back to this particular swim, so it was raining heavily, and I drove an hour and a half with hazard lights on, towing my Boston whaler in the rainstorm of Tropical Storm Fred, just so that I could get to Essex after the rain had passed. Now, that might have seemed crazy to have done, but one of my key concerns is safety. In that particular area, there's a lot of boats and a lot of yachts. And I knew that there would be only a few boats out on that day. And so I chose to swim. The rain had stopped. There was 3 to 4 foot swells. Tim and Rick in the Boston whaler got more wet than I did, being in the water. And I was swimming into the waves, and there was what I call the washing machine effect, both the side to side motion and the up and down. Mm-hmm. And I learned just over the 3 years just to relax with the water. And when I did that, I was actually able to swim further than I expected that day with less effort. The other beauty of that moment was all my swims were timed roughly an hour and 15 minutes after high tide, to allow the tide to turn so that I could take advantage of the current. One question that I always get asked is, you're swimming downstream, right? And I would say I'm crazy, not stupid. But as I got closer to the Baldwin Bridge, which was then about 4 miles from the Long Island Sound, I could feel the tidal pull current drawing me towards the ocean. And it was as if I was being embraced by a loved one after being absent too long. And it just, I can still feel the river still resonates within me.
Wow. I can hear that when you talk, Kari, like, being out in nature and this, connection that you have to the river, like no one else does, and you learned some valuable things out there, didn't you?
Yes. And the beauty of it is that the river just met me where I was. There were some days I was elated to be in the water. Other days, I would be grumpy, but invariably, after 30 minutes, it literally washed away all the crud of my land life.
Wow.
And, I was blessed by blue herons. You can see this photo of, I didn't take this photo, but a blue heron is my spirit bird. And it's about an individual who is determined to take charge of their life. And that's why my business is called Blue Heron Odyssey.
Wow.
And I actually got a tattoo of a blue heron after I swam in honor of the bird. I was able to see a short-nosed sturgeon. That's an endangered species. I mean, it's I had never seen one before, but it looks like a dinosaur. It's actually 3D. There's like, I don't know if they're scales, but the back of a dinosaur, the triangles, they have it on the side of the body as well as the spine. And bald eagles. There was up north. Oh, it was really cool. So I'm swimming down and I heard a quack, definitely a duck. So I look and there was 2 adults and 3 baby ducks, but they were looking upstream. So I looked up and maybe 30 feet above was a duck. They quacked again, a little baby duck, and it entered the slipstream and it went down the river past them. The adult duck quacked again, it pivoted and then swam to the shore, and it was learning how to swim. Wow. It was learning how to, and this was like literally water level. Like you can't make this stuff up. You couldn't. And it's better than.
Go ahead.
I mean, for us, and perhaps the listeners that are, was it Omaha Wild Kingdom? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're in the water, face in the water, swimming, and you're in there with nature all around you, I would imagine at times. And to get to see and witness things like that is really, really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you said too, like you with the washing machine effect, I'm a bit of a scuba diver, and I remember surfacing and being like, whoa, I know exactly what you're talking about, and how you came to that understanding of, letting, to go with the water,
Yeah. And related to that, so at the beginning of the swim, Tim had clocked me going roughly 2.6 miles an hour. And as we got closer to the sound, I was doing 4 miles an hour. And at one point I didn't realize it until there were buildings and, piers and boats, and I could literally see both of us moving at the same time. And it was like Star Wars, when Darth Vader grabs someone and literally like transports them, like feeling that force.
Yeah.
But it was so compassionate though. You know what I mean? It wasn't like trying to squash me. It was embracing me and drawing me towards it, something bigger.
Wow. What a powerful thing to witness, Kari.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So the swim of the Connecticut River, that takes a lot of courage, bravery, time, commitment, all of that. And you did it. What would you say is one of the biggest misbeliefs out there in the world that you have found is completely false?
We are smaller than we think we are. And that as individuals, we can't make a difference.
Did you ever believe this lie, Kari?
Oh yeah. And I believed that my voice didn't matter. And, I learned how to be present. I learned how to hide in plain sight by not speaking my truth, by appeasing in order to maintain a sense of connection. And now, well, with the river, when I started swimming, the Connecticut River Conservancy approached me and asked if I would partner with them, which I was happy to do and, raise awareness, because it was this organization that actually changed the health of the river back in the late 50s and 60s. I mean, raw sewer was being dumped directly into it. It was known as New England's most beautiful sewer. And they turned it around, and it's swimmable now. And I was nervous about, speaking, press, talking, radio, and whatnot. And I realized I can't not speak up for the river. And so I leaned into my discomfort and overcame that. And the river gave me my voice back. And coupled with that, I'm a Buddhist practitioner for 15 years now. And in 2017, I took the Bodhisattva vow, which is to be of benefit to others. Along my studies, there was a contemplation about karma. And one of the lines of contemplation was, my reactive patterns causes me and others pain and suffering. And that resonated with me. And I'm like, I want to know what my reactive patterns are. So for the past 2.5 years, I've been exploring, or not exploring, but digging deep. And that's how our paths crossed, because ultimately it led to the container metamorphosis. And then as a result of that, I was able to identify or reveal all the several misbeliefs that I've had that have been sort of the silent program that I've been interacting with the world, and also just the physiological impact that it has had on me.
What's the real cost when people believe that lie?
They're not being their true self. They're not, and each person is unique, and we all have something that the world needs. I'm going to recite this quote. You can't be the world to everybody, but you can be the world to someone. And it's the one-on-one human connection that makes a difference. And my passion for swimming led me to reclaiming myself. And also being able to, it led me to Judith Johnson, and through one of the somatic practices, which is an extended acupressure technique plus facilitation, I was able to release the physiological grief that I carried of my father's death for 40 years. And that led to an eating disorder when I was 16. So when we're unable to release things that needed to be released at the time of an event, invariably it'll wreak havoc on us with enough time.
Yeah, have an impact on us. Yeah, you're exactly right. What was the pivotal moment for you when you realized that everything had shifted, and that you realized there was a different way of doing things, different way of living?
Well, in some respect, it was gradual. I mean, I had always, been searching for something, and originally, I always thought that there's two versions of me. There's the me that's the unconditioned me, unimpacted by society and its influences, and then me who has to navigate this world. But then that led me to meditation and Buddhism and the idea of Buddha nature, that each of us, that the awareness that we have of ourselves, that awareness is both conscious, vast, compassionate, and when we're not reactive to our thoughts, when we can pause and make a conscious decision of how we want to go forward and how to interact with the world. And for a lot of my choices in life, all of them was to some degree to maintain a sense of connection as well as social acceptance. I'm a PhD trained biostatistician. I loved numbers. It was a natural fit. I was helping people through medical research. And there was also a striving that accompanied that, as well as other things, getting a home, traveling, whatever, pick your flavor of what society is suggesting or telling us we need to do in order to have arrived or be successful. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't working for me anymore. And so by getting bored of doing flip turns in the pool, I re-engaged with nature and re-engaged in something that I loved. And that led me to seeing 410 miles of the river, and each part of it is each mile is different, and each day of each mile is different each day. Because if, when you go out in nature, it's never the same day twice, although we think it is. Mm. So during this swim, when I decided to take 4 months of sabbatical from work, that was so stressful. I mean, I had the support of my wife, and just thinking that I can't do this, just the mental anguish of overcoming that decision. They're not going to let me. I was prepared to quit my job if they said no. They didn't blink an eye. But all that, that it's well, you can't do that. You're supposed to, people don't take 4 months off and go swim. I did it, and the river was calling me. It was, something within myself was calling me, and that was the water that began to wash away and seep into the cracks that existed, and so that I could come and step forward and be my true self.
Hmm. And you've developed a unique magic method called Current. Do you want to tell me about it? What are your steps, and what should we know?
Sure. Well, it's ultimately it's a transformative journey, blending meditation, mindfulness, nature, of course, and experiential learning to guide individuals towards inner peace, self-expression, and just a deeper connection to their own life. And each letter represents a step or a theme, and C is for clarity and connection. Clarity and connection to one's inner world, one's soul, one's self, to one's body. How often do we numb ourselves out either through food, drugs, alcohol, sex, shopping, you name it, binge watching. I mean, everything has its place, but in moderation. And then also with nature. I mean, we can all relate to COVID and just the importance of being outdoors, and how that dramatically changed the entire world. We also have U for unlearning limitations. So in letting go of societal and generational conditioning. Each of that is, that flavor is different for each person depending upon their age as well as their upbringing and the various experiences they've had. R is for rewilding the soul, engaging in immersive nature experiences to rediscover adventure, resilience, and adaptability. Where this is not mud races or whatever. And I mean, like I've also done ultra distance triathlons. It's not like that, but it's for people to engage in nature and reconnect in a manner that resonates with them. Whether it's sitting beside the river, reading a book, painting, hiking, biking, you name it, but just to be out in nature. And then we have, the second R is rooting in presence. ROOTING, rooting in presence, about strengthening one's mindfulness to stay grounded in everyday life. So we're less reactive, and allowing us to embody our true expression and be able to express ourselves confidently and cleanly without being aggressive, as well as not being on the defense of what the world might be coming at us. E stands for embodying true expression, voicing and acting on long held desires without fear or despite any fear or judgment. How many times, or if you think about, people have wanted to do things for a long time, but there's always something holding them back. But to let go of those restrictions and really embody that. And it need not be, a huge leap into bounds, but small measurable steps that allows you to gain momentum, little by little, so that each moment brings you closer towards whatever it is you wish to embrace. N is for nurturing courage and confidence. Courage, I forget the origin, but it means leading with the heart, going forward with the heart, taking aligned, intentional steps towards a more authentic life. And when I say authentic, it's what each individual views as being true to themselves. I mean, we all have that inner gauge. We know when we're not being true to ourselves and selling ourselves short, or not being kind to us, not being kind to ourselves. And then lastly, T is the transformation and trust, of embracing lasting change and deeper self-trust that allows you to reconnect with that Buddha nature and to begin to have that radiate out, so that others can see that in you, and then that is a calling for them, and gives that your actions gives them permission for them to be themselves and step forward and be authentic to themselves.
It's beautiful, Kari. When did you realize that your personal transformation needed to become your mission to help others?
It was in March of this past year, in 2025. It was the first time that I had the hands-on session with somatics. It was the psychoneuroenergetics. I mentioned the extended acupressure point holding and the facilitation. And I was able to release grief of 40 years. And I was just like blown away. Like my mind was just wide open, and I thought, I need to learn this in order to be able to offer this gift to others. And then I realized that all of my life experiences can be of benefit to others. Sort of getting on the other side, I can see the silver lining, and now I'm actually grateful for these experiences.
Yeah. What changed in your life, Kari, after you released that grief of 40 years?
Just a general lightness. There wasn't this. I mean, I still miss him, but it gave me permission to be myself.
Wow. Who specifically do you feel called to serve?
I feel called to serve individuals who felt that they've silenced themselves, either through societal or generational conditioning. It's a sort of broad, but for those who hear it, they'll know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What would the world look like if everybody knew what you know?
I think the world would be lighter, kinder. There would be a sense of wonder and appreciation for nature, and not rather than it's something to do on the weekend, but that it becomes an integral part of our life. We coexist, and we recognize that nature can have a profound impact on us if we let it, and we're not disconnected from it.
Mm-hmm. And when someone goes through your complete method, Kari, what kind of transformation can they look forward to?
They will have a calmer nervous system, so be more grounded, both physically and, I'm going to say mentally, but spiritually. I lead with a Buddhist flavor. All religions are welcome. It's you don't have to be a Buddhist for me to work with you. They'll recognize where and their misbeliefs. I'll help them identify their misbeliefs and support them in how they choose to step past them.
And for someone who resonates with your message and wants to go deeper, what would be the natural next step?
Reach out to me at my email address. I'm currently in a year-long mentorship program. I will be working towards a certification to do somatic practicing sessions, hands-on, by the end of the year, early January of 2026. And it can be done in person. I'm in Massachusetts. It also can be done virtually.
And what can people expect when they work with you directly?
Friendliness. I'm grounded. I'm not trying to sell them anything. I want to meet them where they're at. I want to support them in the direction that they want to go, and then help them what they bring forward with my unique magic method of current to help them get to where they want to be.
Before we go, I know that you have a map of the river. I feel like we need to see that too.
So the Connecticut River begins at up in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. It's roughly a few hundred yards from the Canadian border, and all the way down to the Long Island Sound. And this shows how many miles I swam each year, and also color coded to know which sections of each year. So it was jumping around a little bit, but it all got covered. And I was sort of the very meticulous, where I would put in, enter the water where I had pulled out another time, and I always made sure there was a little bit of overlap. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I'm still swimming in the river as time allows.
That's amazing. What an experience. And what a connection you've created with that river. Mind, body, and soul connection, isn't it? What has changed in your business or life since working with the radical company that you didn't expect?
Wind lift to take off.
Mm-hmm.
The structure, so that I have the infrastructure that, that I don't have to do it alone. I don't have to know how to do all of it, that there's a fabulous radical magic team to support me.
Mm-hmm. And if you were talking to somebody that was considering the Radiverse, what would you tell them about your experience?
I love it. I don't regret it. It's not at all.
Very good. Kari Kastango, swimmer of the Connecticut River. So fascinating to hear your story here today. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.